everybody, this is the Wikstrand, and it is not a secret that I really like movies about escaping from prison, you know, being on the run and, you know, planning escapes and stuff like that. That is why I love movies such as, you know, The Fugitive, The Great Escape, Escape Plan, even, you know, more ludicrous versions such as, you know, Wedlock and movies of that sort. They don't have to do a lot for me to really, you know, liking them, because there is something universal about seeing somebody, you know, escape their bonds and escape from prison, or, you know, escape incarceration, where they have been put there justly or unjustly. That is something that I think is universal and that always works when it comes to movie making. The movie that we're going to take a look at today, Escape from Alcatraz, is probably one of the more archetypical versions of that movie, but considering that this is based on a true story, and I think that they got most of the details surrounding this movie quite correctly. You know, my only point of reference to this thing is the fact that I've read some articles in some historical magazines concerning this, that is the most famous attempt at escaping from Alcatraz. And what I remember about it, and I thought that they actually got most, if not all things, you know, down to the ending, which actually is very good, if a little bit underwhelming, if you know what's happening in the end. But let's take a look at this movie. This is Escape from Alcatraz. Morris, played by Clint Eastwood, had just arrived to Alcatraz. He has been put there because he is a, you know, escape artist, and he has escaped from several prisons in the past. And because Alcatraz in 1960 was said to be unescapable, that feels like a good place to put good old Frank in. But Frank almost immediately starts to, you know, plan his escape from Alcatraz, and together with a bunch of other convicts that he befriends during his time there, they are planning their escape. They think it can be done if they are just thrifty enough, if they're just smart enough, and if they're just careful enough. They just might pull this one off. And that is essentially the entire story. It's very focused, and I really like that. It's probably not a coincidence that it is Don Siegel who has directed this movie. The man was very good at making great focused stories. Now, I will say this, that I think that Clint Eastwood is just a little bit miscasted in this movie. You know, he was very much stooped in his, you know, tough guy persona at this stage of his career. So I think that other actors could probably have pulled out a better performance than he did, even though I think this is one of the better Clint Eastwood performances, you know, at this stage in his career. It, you know, would be a while until he would show more of three-dimensional characters like, you know, The Bridges of Madison County and other movies as well. But I think that you probably could have done with a Paul Newman or a Dustin Hoffman, or even maybe a Harrison Ford in, you know, the titular characters, but what do I know? The important thing is, however, that Clint Eastwood is a fucking movie star, and we care about what's going to happen to his character, and we want him to break free from Alcatraz. Now, this movie has a lot of prison cliches that is today is, you know, very old and very used and abused at this point, but I think that they were kind of fresh at this point. We have, you know, the gentle old man, and we have the gangs, and we have, you know, the quiet ones and the bullies, and we have the evil you know, guards, and we of course have an evil Warren. Well, we don't actually have an evil Warren in this movie, because he seems to be a very reasonable guy, and he and Eastwood actually has kind of a nice going relationship with each other. But just when I thought about, maybe they're not gonna have an evil Warren in this movie, well, then he screws over Doc, you know, the nice old man who paints, and then I said, fuck you, evil Warren, now I really want them to escape from Alcatraz. This movie is so tense, and it has so many sequences that, you know, it's heart-poundingly excellent, and you're sitting there thinking, oh my god, it's gonna go south now, it's gonna go south now, and maybe it will, and you're never quite sure where we're going, but they don't really tell you what they're going to do before they do it. This also creates a couple of sequences that made me a little bit, why did they do that? And why did they do this? And why did they do it in such a way? And maybe they did that because they actually did so in the actual escape attempt back in 1960. But they could still have explained some things a little bit better. I like the tone of this movie, I like the atmosphere of this movie. The movie has a good pace, and you really feel like you are there on Alcatraz, maybe because, you know, they actually filmed this damn thing on Alcatraz. And it is a movie that you will remember, and it is more memorable than most other escape from prison movies that I have seen, and surprisingly it holds up very good. This movie feels very timeless, and I don't know why we don't get to understand why Frank is being sent to Alcatraz. We only know that, you know, he's a criminal and he has, you know, has a reputation about him and stuff like that. We don't know what he has done. Now, maybe they did that because what Frank Morris actually did was, you know, some pretty horrendous stuff, and we don't want to end up disliking the guy. And if he was innocent, why don't they, you know, bring that thing up, because that would put even more sympathy on Eastwood. But this is one of these things that is only a Googling away probably, but I don't want to do that because I don't want to, you know, spoil anything, because I'm, you know, of the opinion that if you don't know what Frank has done, then it is probably for the better. You know, I don't think that they will send, you know, people who has, you know, been guilty of panty sniffing or jaywalking to Alcatraz, but we don't know what he did. Maybe he raped nuns or decapitated Jack Russell puppets with a machete or something like that. Maybe he was an asshole. We don't know, but for me, I'm just happy that I've seen this movie and that I really like this movie. This is a very, very good movie from a pretty dull period in movie history. And if you've never seen Escape from Alcatraz, do see it. If you like, you know, escape from prison and stuff like that, this is a movie that you will really, really like. And all the cliches in this movie that, you know, will appear in other movies down the line, here they are quite fresh and have, you know, not been used and abused yet. And apart from Eastwood, there isn't really any recognizable names here or actors that really, you know, put on some, you know, memorable performance or anything like that. Everybody's good, but this movie is partially sold actually on the star power of Clint Eastwood. And if you like Clint Eastwood movies and haven't seen this one, then you should definitely see it. This is one of his really, really good late 70s movies. I love the escape attempt bit of the movie. That is definitely the best part of the movie, which, you know, takes up most of, you know, the second half of the movie. And I also thought it was a good idea to structure the movie in such a way it makes the pace better, and we have all come here to actually see the escape take place, and when we see it, we're all with them, and the tension during those sequences are so fucking good. And I really like the ending, even though some people will find it a little bit flat, and I don't know, but for me, this is a very, very overlooked movie from the late 70s that I think should be regarded as a better movie than it probably is regarded as. A good attention to details, a very good Clint Eastwood, and a very tense script results in a very compelling prison movie that I give 80 points. A lot of very, very likable characters, lots of fascinating aspects, and a very good pace considering that this movie is over 40 years old. This is a very good and very underrated movie in my opinion. So I'll see you next time for Well So and So reviewing, well, such and such. Thank you for watching. Thank you very much.